Sittu. There's lots of memories, lots of stories, some funny, some very meaningful. But one thing was very clear, there's a general theme, and that's who our grandmother was to us. She was our teacher, and she was our coach. And when you know, if you know any great coaches, you'll know that the coach knows every individual on that team, and they know exactly how to reach them. And for every member of the team, it's going to be a little bit different, but they know how to give them what they need when they need it most. And that was who our grandmother was to us. But the funny thing was, she didn't give us what we need in a traditional way. She didn't, if you know her, she didn't speak very good English. I'll tell the story again. One of my friends, his name was John, and John always thought I was German. He came up to me one day and said, "Hey, you're German. You don't look German. I don't know how that works." And I said, "John, what do you mean? Why do you think I'm German?" And he leaned over and he said, "Well, your grandmother, she speaks Arabic, and she keeps on mentioning Germany." And I said, "John, that's not Germany. She's just talking to my brother Jeremy." And then same guy, John, he wasn't the smartest guy, but he also thought Frigidaire was an Arabic food. It wasn't an Arabic food. It's a refrigerator, John. It's a shame, refrigerator. So to say the least, she didn't speak great English, but Serena said it best when she said, somehow when she sat next to each one of us, and she did it for each one of us a different way, she always knew how to give us what we needed. Some of us, she would just sit down there and hold our hand and say something that was the perfect thing to say when we needed it. Other ones, she gave the tough love. I can't remember who it was, but one of us, she had a wooden spoon, and we ran from her. And so one of us ran around the corner, or maybe it was you, and she threw the wooden spoon, and the wooden spoon curved around the corner. It was amazing. And hit him in the shoulder. And that's what he needed at the time. Other times, it's making the perfect food for you when you're sad, or the blankets that she crocheted. But the point is, she always gave us what we needed when we needed it most. Yes, okay. So let me, real quick, so not all of us are going to speak. It's going to be the four of us, one from each family. My name's Fatme Simon, and then Tim is my brother, and Jeremy is my other brother. Germany. So the last thing I'll say is again, the whole point of this is she was our teacher and our coach. She was also very humble. She told us what not to, we'd always try to emulate her because of the great person she was, but she also told us when not to. The last time I rode with her in the car, she passed her driveway, threw it in reverse, and I was thinking, there's no way this little old lady is going to back up this narrow driveway of hers. She threw it in reverse, backed up the driveway, and then scraped the entire side of her car on the fence. Didn't slow down. The brake was not a thing to her. Continued going and smashed into the back of her garage. Threw it in park, said, "We're here." And then she looked at me and she said, "You don't want to drive like Sittu." I said, "Right, no, I don't." Yeah, so she was our teacher and our coach. And the last thing I'll say, I know I've gone way over. The last thing I'll say is a lot of us here are sad because we remember our grandmother, our mother, our friend, whoever. But the thing with her passing that she has that no one else that I know of that has passed away has is a legacy. What she taught, or how she coached, and the things she left this world with, whether it be people, friendships, things they said, that lives on forever through the generations. And that's something that not many people can say like she can say. I'm going to give it to Omar now.
Hi, I'm Omar. I'm Ollie and Tony's son. I think my dad spoke first, so he's that guy there, and then my two siblings here. Thank you. My two siblings, I have Jenna here, and then Malaya at the end there with her son. So there were a couple things that really stood out to me about my grandmother, and one of them is I was reminded of as everyone was speaking here, and it's kind of a recurring theme, was she came from a pretty underprivileged background, and all of her kids did as well. And what always stood out to me was, despite her background and her upbringing and her lack of literacy, she placed such a tremendous importance on education. And that was one thing that as soon as I called her, as soon as I saw her, or she called me, the first question was, how's school? How are you doing? Are you getting A's? And that's what she really wanted to see of all of us. And I think, as Adam mentioned, and as a few people mentioned, that was where she really, maybe unintentionally or without knowing she was doing so, made sure she passed on a legacy. She wanted to see everyone come up to do better than she did, and do better than maybe even we thought we could do. So, and the other thing that stood out to me was how compassionate she was. Very just selfless, and I think, as Mr. Hunter and a lot of people have mentioned, she really reflected that compassion onto her children, and they're all going on to serve the world in different ways, and that's where her legacy is living on. So I'm going to pass it along now, but thank you all for coming.
Hi everyone, my name is Nibal Hindi. I'm Frida's and Cal's daughter, and my brother Aaron Brahim is over there in the white. So, sorry for those of you yesterday who have already heard this, but the one thing I remember, one of the many things that's most important to me that I remember about Sipto is her food. The way she loved us through her food. I remember when I was younger, we lived across the border in Windsor. I would have sleepovers at Sipto's, and she'd bring me a snack. Like, we'd be in bed watching TV. She'd bring me a snack of healthy food, grapes, cucumbers from her garden, cheese, nuts, all in a silver platter, and. She spoiled us to death with her food, I think, especially her apple pie. That was the best. So I think she had many ways of loving us, whether it be teaching us things. Sometimes she'd show us her love through a little bit of anger, a little bit of getting mad at us, but she always loved us, and no matter what we did, she was always there for us. And I think that's one of the things, and I hope that she was a very hardworking woman, and I hope that someday I can be like her.
My name is Jamie Amir. I'm Jake and Lila's son, Jake and Aishi, and my brother Mark and my sister Serena are here. And my wife Janine. Oh, you're up here as well. And so part of what we're doing is telling you about what it was like to be her grandkids, and you heard some really good stories. On the food theme, I was traveling from Toronto to Cincinnati once, and I stopped at Siti's house for a dinner in Detroit on the way, and she was going to make some food, and I was expecting to have a really small meal and keep on going. And when I got to her house, the table was full, like she was feeding a 15-person banquet. All of the favorite things that I liked, and a bunch of pies, 4 different kinds of pies, including the mean apple pie that nobody's topped yet. And that's just I should have known, and I was kind of expecting that's what she would do. One of my favorite stories of Situ changing my life, and she had a way of having an impact on you without having to say a lot of things. She was very good at being succinct and concise, and knew exactly what to say, as Adam said, when you needed to hear it. And it was at Aunt Fru's house in San Diego, and I was living in Australia at the time, and I wasn't married yet, but I wasn't single. But I was having a great time living in Australia, and she. I was sitting in a chair, and she was standing next to me, and she had her arm on my shoulder, and she was hugging me, and she said, "How's life in Australia?" And I said, "Oh, it's great, Situ." She said, "Are you having fun?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "How's work? Is that fun? Is that good?" And I was like, "Yeah, Situ, it's a lot of fun." And she hit me on the back of the head, And she said, when am I going to see my great-grandchildren? And I'm lucky she didn't have a wooden spoon. Although I will say that my mom definitely picked up the wooden spoon skill. She could curve it around the corner as well. So I'll wrap up by talking about the values that Situ gave us. That really, to me, are the things that will always endure. She gave us some incredible values, and there's a million different words that you could try to find that describe them. And for me, humility was mentioned, and that's definitely one of them. Selflessness is a big one as well, and we live in a culture where sometimes it takes a lot of work to make sure that selflessness comes through, and caring for your fellow man, and generosity and compassion. And when I think about what the definition of a good person is, there's nobody higher that I know of than Situ. I mean, she was a truly, truly good person. Such a good heart. She gave so much to so many people. What we saw as her grandkids was what she gave inside the family, and most of us, haven't spent that much time in Dearborn in her community, but we know from the stories about how important she was in the community here, and that selflessness that she showed here as well. So her values will endure. They are embedded in us, and they're embedded in this community, I think. And they're embedded in our parents, and they will endure to our children. And she has great-grandchildren now, and she has another one on the way. And we take that all very seriously. That's part of what we got from Situ, and she'll always live on in that way. Thank you.